Assalamu alaikum and good morning, my dear students. I am your teacher Muhammad Ikram from Pakistan International School Taif, KSA. I welcome you all in my today class. It's our lecture number 10, and this lecture number 10 is devoted to introduction to energy. So let us start with the name of Allah Almighty. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Our today lecture consists of 4 parts: an introduction to energy, the types of energy, these sources of energy, and other form of energies. We will discuss this in our today lecture. So let us start from energy. In introduction to this chapter number 6, work, energy and power, right in the beginning, I told you that physics is a gateway to energy and it is nothing else. So this shows the importance of energy in our daily life. I told you that there is very intricate difference between energy and work. And if you remember, at that point, I told you that work is done when energy is converted from one form or to another. Or I said you that work is done when energy is transferred from one point to another. So, in fact, work was conceptually considered as the method of transfer of energy. In today's lecture, we will explain this energy. Energy in physics, energy is the quantitative property that must be transferred to an object to perform work on the object or to heat the object. Now, I will explain to you how to work is used, how energy is used to perform work or to heat or to generate or create heat. This is what I will explain to you. Moreover, I just want to tell you the unit in which energy is being measured. Since energy is one of the physical quantity being measured, therefore the SI unit of energy is joule, like work. So energy is also measured in joule. Now the question is that why energy? Why there must be energy? Energy, because energy, it is the ability, or the capacity, it is the ability or the capacity to do work. Therefore, we need it. Now, how? For example, look, we need energy to stay alive. Without energy, our survival will be in trouble. You wouldn't be able to survive. Let us see how. Look at this presentation. See here. You know, our heart beats because there is a constant supply of energy to the heart. If the supplement of the energy is stopped for a second to our heart, then it may not survive and it will stop beating and maybe it will not recover. So, this is why we need energy to stay alive. The second important point is we mention are to heat something like this. So you see here that we need energy to cook our food. Let us see. You just see, look here, the food are being cooked because it is constantly supplied heat energy. So heat energy is used to cook food. Another important point that, for example, you need energy to drive to school. If you don't have energy, then you can't drive to school. So look, this is not an important point that whether you are going to school by feet or by bus. In both ways, you are energy, using energy. If you have energy, then you are capable to arrive at your school. If you don't have energy, then you wouldn't be able to. The children usually need energy. For example, if they play, then jumping we need energy or the children needs energy even in jumping. For example, look, you see that the two men they transfer their energy to the spring in the bed in the form and that causes the child to jump into the air. So look, this is how energy make it possible. So this is this is because of the energy. We need energy to write on this screen. For example, if you are taking notes from this lecture and when you are writing on your notebook by taking some notes important notes from this lecture, then you are using energy. If you ask a sick or a ill person to do this thing, it will be very difficult for him to write. The very simple example is, for example, during this month of Ramadan fasting, you see, look, that mostly you feel sick and weak throughout the day. Why? Because you don't have the energy and nothing can please you, right? You don't take part in any activity. Once you open your fasting after aftar, you get energy and the life comes back to you. You take interest in your routine activities again then, right? Everything then amaze you. Why? Because you are getting energy. Now, as you know, energy is utmost important for our survival to perform various activities. The very few example I have given to you, right? Even I just want to tell you that even if you are sleeping, then still you need energy. Your brain need energy to monitor your body. So energy is all-time requirement. Then there is a question that what are the sources of energy? How we can get energy? Well, the ultimate source of the energy is the sun. The sun is the main source of energy for most of the life on the earth. It is this sun which provide all the energy to us. How one is this question? How sun is the ultimate source of energy for us? So how? I will be answering this question. And the second question is, where does it come from? I mean to say, how the sun is energized by itself. If the sun is giving us energy, then the question is, from where it gets its energy? What are the fuel of the sun, right? So let us first, how sun is the source of energy for us. If you just look to your own system, how you stay energized. You stay energized because you eat and drink. Now, just see that how you get energy. You get energy from the food or the animal which you eat. For example, the chicken. The question is that where the energy comes in those substances. Well, you might have heard about one of the famous uh, mm, reaction that is called the famous process that is called the photosynthesis. When you are in class 7 or class 6, you have heard about the process of photosynthesis. In the process of the photosynthesis, the plants prepare their food in the presence of sunlight. For example, you just see, look, if this is a leaf, like as you see, I am making it like this one. You know, when the sunlight fall on the leaf, as you see, then during this process, in the presence of oxygen, during this process, during this process, during the photosynthesis process, the leaf prepare energy uh, by the process of photosynthesis. This is what when the carbon dioxide and light, and when they meet in the presence of light, the plants prepare their food. This is a complex process, and you will learn this in your bio, right? And the sir will tell you how the photosynthesis process is used by the plants to prepare their food. So that food is stored in the plants. So those plants we eat in the form of leaves, roots, or fruits we eat, and this is how we get energy. Now just imagine if the sun stop giving us its light, that will the plants be able to survive? Most probably they will die in a couple of days or in a couple of weeks, and we will fall short of food and ultimately energy, and the life will come to halt. Now, another question is that where does it come from? How the sun gets its energy? That light and heat, and there is other form of energy also which we do not, which we do not feel. That is the sound energy that is there, but it does not reach us from the sun, as there is no medium. So these are the two most important form of energies which we get from the sun. So the sun is energized by the process called nuclear fusion reaction. Nuclear fusion reaction. It is one of the nuclear reaction in which mass is converted into energy. In this nuclear fusion reaction, that is the conversion of what? The conversion, the conversion of mass into energy. According to the Einstein famous mass energy relation, you might have heard about it, E is equal to mc square. It is not the right place to explain E is equal to mc square here. So this is what we will be explaining in a higher classes. So the fuel for the sun is usually the hydrogen, right? We the sun use hydrogen gas, right, for gaining energy. This is through the process of nuclear reaction called the fusion reaction, in which the hydrogen nuclei combines to form deuterium, and then they combine to form helium. And in during this process, energy is released, and that energy reaches to our Earth and some other planets also. So this is why sun is called the ultimate source of energy. The next is the types of energy. There are two broad types of energies. One we call the mechanical energy, the other we sometimes term is the non-mechanical energies or other form of energy, non-mechanical energy. The what are the mechanical energies? Mechanical energy, in fact, is due to the object motion and position. If the object moves, what? If the object moves, then the object has energy. We call that energy kinetic energy. And one is due to the position of the object. The position of the object, for example, look, if there is this ball like this one, and if you want to raise it against the gravity, the ball have energy stored in it. We call that energy position. Why? Because the position of the ball is changed, then we call this energy as the potential energy, right? So mechanical energy consists of two main kinds of energies called the kinetic energy and the potential energy. The potential energy is further divided into two broad classes. This potential energy. One we call the gravitational potential energy. The other we call the elastic potential energy. Elastic potential energy. Gravitational potential energy is the energy stored in a body when you raise the body against the gravity. For example, if you pick a pencil or a tennis ball from the table or ground to a certain height, then the object gain gravitational potential energy. And whenever the objects get the chance to fall, or when you release the object, then it will fall back. Why? Because that it has energy stored in it, and that energy we call potential energy, right? Which help it fall again. There is elastic potential energy also. For example, in the rubber band, in spring, when you compress or stretch the spring, then energy is stored in it. This is why spring is used in almost all of the mechanical devices. Why? Because it is used as an energy store, and the energy stored in it is a potential energy. And when we need the energy again, the spring supplies the energy back to us, right? For example, look at the catapult or look at the bow. When you stretch the bow, you just push the arrow back. When you release the arrow, then due to that potential energy stored in it, the arrow moves and the potential energy changes back into the kinetic energy. As I told you, that kinetic energy is the energy due to motion in the object. Due to motion in what? Due to the motion of the object. Whenever the object moves, then there will be associated kinetic energy with it. The kinetic energy will be associated with it. So what does this mean? That kinetic energy is the natural property. It is what? It is the natural property of all the moving object, of all the moving objects. All moving objects have kinetic energy just in the same way as they do have momentum. So momentum and kinetic energies are the natural property, intrinsic properties of moving object. Whether the moving objects are as big as the planets or as small as a speck of dust, if they move, they have energy associated with. So kinetic energy, now the factor on which the kinetic energy or the potential energy depends is beyond the scope of this today lecture. Inshallah, in the coming lecture, which is one each lecture specially devoted to kinetic and potential energy, then I will explain in great detail to you that what are the factors on which the kinetic energy depends. For example, the kinetic energy relationship, everybody knows half mv square. So how we will derive this equation, why or how it depends on mass and velocity. Similarly, for the potential, particularly the gravitational potential energy mgh, we will explain and derive these two equations, inshallah. Once when we reach the appropriate point, then there I will discuss. Now, all the mechanical energy, they are sufficient to describe all form of energies. And that is the ultimately kinetic and potential energy. The mechanical energy has the ability to describe all other form of energies in great detail. Now, what are all other form of energies? All other form of energies are light energy. Light is the only visible form of energy with the help of which we can see things around us. But I just want to tell you that there is also a kind of light, sometimes we call the invisible light. The example of which is infrared light, which is invisible to our eyes. Our eyes cannot detect the infrared light, but your smartphone can detect. For example, if you just shine the infrared light on the camera of your smartphone, then you can see a glimpse of that infrared light. So infrared light is, in fact, you can, that is your remote control is the best example. It use the infrared light to communicate between your remote control and your television or any other electronic gadget. So there are infrared cameras, sometimes we call it those cameras the night vision equipment, which can even take picture in complete darkness. So this is how, because your body emit invisible radiation called the infrared light or infrared radiation, and the camera detect those radiation, and the computer then form a picture, the picture of it. There is how the light is produced. Usually light is produced by accelerated charges, and inshallah you will learn these things in the higher classes, and I will explain all form of energy in the next lecture also. The next is heat. Heat energy, or sometimes we call it a thermal energy, right? So the thermal energy or the heat energy is associated with the molecules and atom of substance, right? The faster they move, the greater will be the heat or the thermal energy associated with it. And then inshallah in the last chapter, I'll be telling to you that heat is like work. Heat is also one of the method of transfer of energy, right? Without the physical displacement of the object itself. Sound is another form of energy with the help of which we can communicate with each other. And sound energy is produced when mm, uh, sound energy is produced when certain medium is disturbed. For, for example, like this, tapping on the table or on the desk. So that energy is produced. There are numerous application of the sound energy. For example, we use sound energy to detect the seabed. We use that is sound energy in navigation and range finding. That is usually used by the submarine. We use sound energy to communicate with each other. We use ultrasound to diagnose the illness in the human body without direct or open surgery. They sound waves can even our sound energy can even be used to crush stones inside the kidney without any surgery. So there are a lot of application of the sound energy also. Chemical energy, that is the chemical energy is the energy stored due to the bonding between the atoms of a substance. And we also need chemical energy because we use chemical energy to produce thermal energy or heat energy. For example, much of the chemical energy is used by the batteries, cells, the car engine, and they convert into what? Into useful work done or into all other form of energy. Electrical energy, one of the most wanted energy, and the electrical energy is so vital in our life that we can nowadays we cannot even live without electrical energy. We use electrical energy to produce four effects like light, heat, sound, motion. It can even be used to produce chemical effect like the process of you might have heard electroplating. This is possible by using electrical energy, in which we can deposit one metal layer over the other. Magnetic energy, there is a magnetic energy. We also need magnetic energy. For example, we use magnetic energy to lift heavy loads or a container at the seaport, or to move them from one place to another. You have seen it in a crane. Gravitational potential energy, as I talked about already. The hydel uh, energy or the hydroelectric energy, that is the energy obtained from moving water. Energy obtained from moving water. That is that is one of the most environmental friendly energy. Biomass is the energy that we obtain energy from the biomass. Our biomass energy is the energy which we obtain from biodegradable substances, such as from the animal waste, right, or from the decomposition of the plant. So this energy is also important. Wind energy, we obtain wind energy from the moving air. You might have heard about the windmills, right? And this is also the environmental friendly, right? Now it can generate as much energy as they can as it can be much enough to run the airports, even the entire airport system. And the nuclear energy, of course, the most wanted. The nuclear energy, we use the nuclear energy. This nuclear energy, it is obtained from the making or the breaking of the nucleus, right? Or simply you can say the atoms. So that is the nuclear energy. Nuclear energy can be obtained from through the process of fission, where we break the nucleus, and it can be obtained through the process of fusion, where we uh, combine nuclei to form a heavy nucleus. So in both the situation or the cases, we get nuclear energy. And the nuclear energy, it is so important and vital that For example, that F by certain means, if we have, let us suppose, for example, one glass of water contain enough fuel for the nuclear fusion reaction. I would talk about the fusion reaction. One glass of water contain enough fuel, deuterium, which when converted into energy through the process of nuclear fusion reaction, the future generation wouldn't want for energy at least for 40,000 years. Similarly, there are submarines which are nuclear powered, but those have the based on the fission reaction, breaking up the nucleus. And those submarines can travel under the deep blue sea quite for 6 months without refueling. So these are the wonders of the nuclear energy. Nuclear energy can be used both for war and peace. So every kind of energy has its own importance, but remember that some of the energies are environmental friendly while some do not. And we will discuss this at, at its appropriate places. I just want to tell you some other sources of energy also. I think I have forgotten this. I'm sorry for that. Wind energy, geothermal energy, the energy obtained from by using the heat at the earth crust, because the earth crust contains some radioactive elements and they produce tremendous heat energy, and we use that heat energy to produce steam, and the steam is then used to produce other form of energies like electrical energy. So geothermal energy is important. Hydrogen energy, as I told, fusion process. Tidal energy. The tidal energy is the energy obtained from the oceanic waves. The wave energy, as I also told you, the energy from the waves of the motion, the waves at the sea. The hydroelectric energy, again, hydroelectric energy, as I already told you, that the energy from the moving water. Biomass energy, I discussed this. So these are also the sources of energy as well as the form of energy also. But about the ultimate form I told. So now I just winding up my lecture, I would like to tell you that in fact the energy is what is used to perform work. What I would like to summarize it just in one statement, that we use energy to create force, to create force. That force causes the object to move. For example, look here at this rocket. We use chemical energy. That chemical energy, when in the form of what? Petroleum, when it burns in the presence of oxygen, it produces heat or thermal energy, right? Which according to the Newton third law of motion pushes the rocket, when the exhaust gases, when they push in the downward direction, it pushes on the rocket in the upward direction. So you have seen that energy has produced an upward thrust for us, right? An upward force for us that pushes the rocket in the upward direction. So if we have energy, we use energy to create force, right? For example, when you push on an object, the object moves. Why? Because there is a force acting on the object. Where does that force comes from? From your push. And when you be able to create a push, when you have energy, if you ask a very second L person to drag something, he wouldn't be able to. So the summary of the lecture is that we use energy to create a kind of force, right? And this is our today lecture. right? So in our today lecture, you have learned about the sources of energy, the types of energy, particularly the mechanical energy and mechanical energy we will discuss in great detail. Each part of the mechanical energy separately, kinetic energy separately, potential energy separately, other form of energy I just discussed lightly to you, and inshallah we will elaborate those types of energies in great detail in the next lecture. So thank you very much for being with me. This was our today lecture. So see you again in the next lecture. Don't miss the next lecture. Inshallah, the next lecture will be about the kinetic energy, the factors on which the kinetic energy depends, and how we can derive the relation for the kinetic energy.